official NRL Fantasy Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the official NRL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Paulie G, and Eric Wells joins me. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Another chaotic round 4, I think. We've had a couple of them now, so glad to see the end of that, and we'll see what happens this week, eh?
And for those watching on YouTube, the empty chair. It's the mystery guest. We don't know who it's going to be. It could be Luke, could be Andrew, could be Longy, could be Ross Lapthorne coming down from Queensland. We just don't know. Yeah. But at the moment, we wait in anticipation. I feel like it's like the Masked Singer or something like that. But we'll reveal all later. I want to know, it's been a tough couple of rounds. Obviously, Cleary. Did you end up selling Cleary? Did you hold him?
Did end up holding him, but had to make way for Haas somehow. So ended up being Watson to
Watson to Haas.
My detriment probably this weekend.
Tough round last round with guys like Cleary out.
Yeah, definitely. So I think last week was really testing for your coverage.
Yeah.
Most definitely, and how you've kept those, but it was getting grim. It's getting grim because some of those late minute changes as well also really shuffled things.
For those that kept Watson or Cleary or both, they're back this week. Kalen Ponga's back from bye. So there's some encouraging signs.
There's a lot of people back.
Lachlan Hubner.
So we're very glad to see his dot go green today. So a couple more new green dots as well.
We're going to be talking about it.
Absolutely.
But look, a lot of cheapies coming on the horizon too. I thought those games, still seeing a lot of one-sided games. Yeah. A lot of teams getting on a roll on and then they're sort of building up the points. The wet weather saw a lot of missed tackles as well.
Very much so. Fantasy doesn't like the wet, unfortunately.
No.
So,
Turbo.
Yeah.
That was a real nightmare
Horrific.
for his owners and just for fans of the game in general.
Yeah, I think usually the only safe ones in the wet's usually the guys in the middle.
I mean, as long as they're not dropping off tackles, Tom Gilbert style, and then getting suspended. So, look, could be a sell. We might get those questions a bit later.
That's right. Well, I think there's going to be a lot of questions. It's also, I feel like there's a lot of players who were maybe holding on to till last week that were kind of on notice, and I think we've noticed them now. So
some of them went better, some of them went worse.
Some of them improved while they're on the list. So we might. We might get moving.
Get your questions in.
Absolutely.
We're going to answer as many as we can, but let's do the previews now. We're starting with the Raiders versus the Sharks. First game up Thursday night, and both teams coming off perhaps surprise losses. I think they were both favourites, right, going in. Both went down last week, so plenty to prove. It's always a good rivalry between these two as well. And in the Raiders' case especially, we've got a lot of fantasy interest in the game.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of us picked up Nicholson.
Yeah, I'm a Nicholson believer, true believer.
A lot of people jumped on him. Look, it wasn't an amazing score, but it was still okay. Still saw his price going up.
The demerits hurt him.
Did, but again, wet.
Yeah, it wasn't so wet up there though. I don't know if we can. It was hot.
Right.
I think we could say that the heat really hurt some of those Raiders players. Corey, Tom Starling.
Well, Corey had a lot. And I think, look, he's fairly highly owned, so a lot of people had that issue as well. But yeah, he could have gone.
He's still got a good score, but he could have gone better. But I just think, I mean, it's a long trip from Canberra up to North Queensland. When you get a day where they said, actually, this is hot even for Townsville, we've got to take two breaks and have a 20-minute half time. I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Well, I didn't notice until I was putting around at home, and then I realised, the game's still not on. I'll just keep going. I went, it's still not on.
Yeah.
So,
what's happened?
But yeah, like the matchup, McInnes versus Horsburgh, I think is going to be a fun matchup this week.
So McInnes, obviously the injuries to Iro and Talakai last week for the Sharks meant they were playing 15 for half the game. So McInnes ended up playing almost 80, not quite. He had I think about a 5-minute spell, but he put up a monster score. Yeah. We know that he can do that. They get some troops back though. Obviously Hazelton's back this week. Rudolph's one match fitter. So perhaps McInnes, maybe that's an outlier game. Maybe he'll go back to his normal 60-minute role.
Certainly don't think he's one to pick up, but I think I just like watching McInnes on the field. I just like watching him play. I think he's just one. When he can get it done, especially on fantasy, he's great to have. Probably early parts of the season, not so much, but
There'll come a point where you might want him.
There's a point when he just rears his head and he starts getting interesting. So.
Still watching Hines. That was a down game for him, and that's what we're worried about now. He doesn't get those max scores. If he's still going to get them below par ones, makes it tough for us to trust him fantasy-wise.
Yeah. Look, not many teams have your halves that score well, both score well. Usually it's one or the other.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing here is a tug of war. I think a little bit.
Yeah, well, they both were
Trindle and
down, weren't
Hines.
they? It wasn't a good game for the Sharks. They were well beaten.
No, but
And at home, which was surprising. But the wet didn't help.
but also the kicking, who's
Yeah,
not,
they
who's
did
going to
share
take the
it.
last
Yeah,
minute
Trindle.
kicks. So
That's
it's all over the place. So if everyone shares it, then no one gets the cookies.
Shout out to Sav Tamale because he was on 8, I think, after about 50 minutes, but he ended up scoring a 50. So that's what he can do.
Well, that's it, right? And usually that's generally a role for a fullback. Well, there it's a wing fullback, they're together. But yeah, there's a lot of fullbacks out there that generally you'll be worried the whole game, then all of a sudden one or two runs and you're right. So
he did well.
yeah, good to see.
Let's talk about the Panthers and the Cowboys now, shall we? And of course, Penrith losing that game to South's a bit of an upset, and they lost Brian To'o as well. They
Yep.
do get back Nathan Cleary, however. Scott Sorensen's also out, I should add. So Isaiah Papali'i moves to the second row. Lindsay Smith back into the starting lineup. Surely, we say this every time, but surely this is a game. Isaiah Yeo milestone match as well. Penrith hit their straps. If you kept Cleary, you could be a captain option, a pod captain choice. You would think this is a game that they would be really thinking, right, let's get back to our best.
Well, you'd think so. So set, reset. Cleary back as well. Obviously, galvanises the team quite a lot more as well. I'm sure Jack Cole owners probably aren't too happy, but look,
They've got to be happy with his score.
Well, aren't too happy that Cleary's back.
Get your kicks.
Absolutely. Got his price
On the
rising
score
going
of
finally.
66.
Absolutely. But look, this was the game that everyone who was potentially looking at moving on Cleary that didn't, this is the game that you were hoping for.
That's why you didn't do it.
That's why you didn't do it.
He's got a break even of, I think, 100.
Well, he's done it before.
So
Paul.
that's
He's done it
why
before.
you do it. I need to ask you about Tom Jenkins. We brought him up on the show last week.
Yep.
We said he's probably not a buy, but then he got a 56.
Yes.
So 25 and 56, average out. He's going to make some money. Or is it going to be one of those ones where rich man, poor man?
Well, you had him for the predictor. You had him fairly low,
Looks pretty low on the
Yeah.
predictor.
but there's a small sample size to work off. So
Yeah.
you've got to take that with a grain of salt. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, a lot of people picked him up last week, and if not, definitely looking at it, kind of chasing
Yeah.
the points a little bit. So look, hopefully he can keep it running. And I don't know, it's really hard to pick the Cowboys as well this year in terms of what side's going to be dominant for your defence, for your attack.
They've been below par, but they got the win
Yep.
against the Raiders. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Bateman.
yeah, Bateman and Drinkwater. They're the
They did
two that, if you owned Bateman, obviously you're sticking solid now. That was a game that suited him and against his old team as well. We're still watching Will Cotter and Robson rise from the ashes and become a purchase at some point. But Drinkwater, the ones everyone's talking about because he got 62.
Of course. Purdue's another one.
Yep.
A lot of people have or moved on him, but his confidence picked up a lot. His running game especially has picked up quite a lot too.
I like how he's played the last 2 weeks. He didn't get the score last week,
No.
but he was that close. He was that close.
Right, and that's all you need though.
He's still a buy.
for that cheap. That cheap, absolutely.
Because he's still cheap. I mean, if we didn't have the likes of Jenkins and Dylan Egan, who we'll get to later, but he's still a buy.
yeah, and that's what you want when you're looking at a couple of guys who we'll talk about probably very shortly, and probably have a lot of questions about as well, who perhaps we've held aren't quite firing. You're going to need those cheaper guys to try and get a bit of bank together, or try and get a decent enough trade to make it worthwhile. So.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the Rabbitohs and the Roosters now. And obviously with Souths, they just keep winning. And now they've got Latrell back.
That's the big one. So Latrell being back and centre as well.
Yeah. Joe
That's-
Gray fullback. He's leading the Dally M's. So Wayne Bennett
Leaving
says
there.
you're staying at fullback. And Isaiah Tass back to the wing with Alex Johnston out injured. So Jamie Humphries only a 54. Whatever will we do?
Automatic sell, I think. Absolutely.
He's being sarcastic.
No, don't do that. But
Don't
look,
sell it.
if that's his worst, I'll take that any day. So not only that, just his effort areas are just amazing for a half. The amount of defence he puts in is just crazy.
And Peter Mamouzelos, that was annoying. He got that sin bin and right at the end.
Right at the end.
Because he would have got close to 50, instead it's 39.
But look, you got to be pretty happy with his scores too, because there was points where you were like, all right, he's not doing what we thought, and then next minute, we'll hold him one more week, and then he just went crazy. So look, I'm pretty happy to see his price rises go.
Has he played in a rivalry game against the Roosters yet? Because I'm thinking with Cookie there, he occasionally was on the bench. I'm not sure if he's played. It's multicultural round as well, and he's got the Greek heritage.
But probably not starting, I don't think.
This is a big game for him.
Yeah,
he'll have a lot on the line.
Watson too. So
Connor Watson's back, and he's
back,
opposite. So
and multicultural round's very big for Watson
You
too.
were a Watson seller. Are you nervous now? Do you think can you bring him back after a week? Can you bring him in if you didn't have him in round one? I think he could get a massive score here.
He could do. So people who don't have him can see him coming in. He's probably got, if he makes it on the Blues side, it makes it a bit hard. Like, you kind of need to move him in now before their round 10 bye, because I think
round 12
he's going
to the first Origin game, so he'll probably miss round 12.
That. They've also got their buys in those odd in-between normal rounds as well.
He'll miss 12, 15, 18, and he'll miss the buys, 10 and... Not sure the other ones, but there's another one in the middle there.
I think in that 10-week period, you end up only seeing him 4 or 5 times. So it's a rough hold. So if you want him, it's going to have to be this week or after Origin.
What about Teddy? Is he any chance of playing Origin? Could he be a better pickup than Watson?
Well, the Edwards injury, and look, we're expecting him back hopefully this week.
Now injured. Latrell's back. So probably it's between him and Latrell, do you think? Would they go in a different direction again?
I guess it depends. I think
Drinkwater, I mean, he's New South Wales eligible.
True. So, I mean, it just comes down to, I guess, how they feel Teddy's going and what that relationship looks like after last year's swap out as well. So, we saw how publicly it looked, but behind the scenes, how did that go?
Clint Gutherson.
Could well be as well.
He's another guy who would put his hand up, I'd say, if Edwards isn't back in time.
Yep. So there's plenty of options there, but look, for fantasy wise, having Roosters that aren't playing Origin though, they're going to be your gold mines in that 10 to 20 round. We won't go too far into planning just yet, but it's not bad to hold a few Roosters through that time. So especially a Teddy, if he's ready and raring like he was last year during that bye period, we'll be pretty happy to have him along the side.
Victor Radley is out this week. Nat Butcher will play lock. He'll probably get big minutes. Siwa Wong's been going great on the edge. Angus Crichton returned to form. And then Nafo White has just been destroying. Now, I thought maybe that game over in New Zealand, he had a lot to play for. His family were over there, obviously. But he backed it up, even though they went down against the Titans. So now I'm like, we'll book it. And both White and Wong, I feel like even though they've gone up so much, they're still undervalued. You could get either of these guys right now and be laughing.
Look, there's a pun there that I'll save the viewers from.
Yeah, we've heard enough of them this year.
But look, I think if you've got at least one of those guys, or even both, you're pretty happy. Yeah. Very, very happy to have picked them up as early as you did. And I think they're not even close to cashing out. So keep it running. And all the injuries or suspensions have just worked in their favour. Whilst they haven't really been scoring, like obviously on the scoreboard at the moment, the Roosters aren't doing too great.
Scoring in fantasy, Rob Toyer hit back.
Yep.
Mark Nawanga-Nitawaze, I think he's been going really, really well. Sandon Smith, not as good though. So hopefully he gets the bounce back this week. I don't want to sell him yet. I feel like he's still got something left in him.
If you've got a loop option this week, a bit tricky with Warriors because not too many people have too many Warriors.
No.
But
Fisher Harris,
a lot of people are
Metcalf.
back, perhaps. Yeah. But if you do happen to have a Warrior or a red dot that you still got hanging around, I think he's one to sit there because we're seeing a bit ducks and drakes at the moment.
Lockie Hubner back this week, so I think he's straight back at lock, so you could pop him straight back into the line.
Quite easy, yeah.
We've got your questions coming up, so if you're watching on YouTube right now, get them in, and if you're not watching and listening to the podcast, we do love that you do that. But why not join us 4 o'clock every Tuesday live on YouTube? Join us live, be part of it. It's great fun.
It's electric, mate. It's electric.
It's electric. Just like our next game. Electric Eels the St George Illawarra Dragons, but it hasn't been as electric as normal years for Parramatta with all these movements, I guess, in the off-season, a lot of changes, and they're still struggling to get their combinations. I feel like Zach Lomax is playing really well for them, trying really hard. Addo Carr's been a big improver to their team, but it's not quite clicking. Israel Iongi, I've held the faith with him. He's kind of letting me down. Yeah, look, I'm thinking for me this will probably be his last chance.
The one thing about Iongi is that he hasn't really lost money.
No.
Hasn't gained the money we wanted him, but he hasn't really lost it either. He keeps kind of hanging around the break even. And even this, I think it was this week, he was originally set for 24, which was just under his break even. But then the recount got him over it only slightly. So, look, it doesn't hurt if you're still holding him. Likely you don't want him in a scoring spot. So it's not the worst thing to hold on to him if you're looking to maybe hold a trade, but at the same time...
Keep him well away from your starting 17. I mean, with all those injuries and suspensions last week, I had to play him. So I got kind of jammed, and the 28, so I'll take it. It could have been worse. But yeah, this week, people back on deck, I'm just... keep him in the emergencies.
Well, what was funny was that he was actually the guy that I looped. And I looped him with Bird, but because they played one after the other...
Yeah, it's tricky.
I had him at 24, so I switched him, and it turned out that it was better off in the long run.
You would have thought when you heard Bird was starting that he would have beaten 24 or 28, let's face it. Kitty Oni Kaltoga, I need to ask you about him because I thought he was quite impressive. I felt like he passed the eye test. Others have said, oh, maybe not, but I don't know if they're just looking at Parramatta as a whole. And I am nervous of the Riles team changes week to week.
Look, until they win a game, I think that's always going to be a thing, right? And they have so many players that can play that spot. The fact he's still named there after the losses is good, and he did have a very good game, fantasy-wise and non-fantasy-wise, I thought. We saw him in the trials, and he looked really, really good in the trials.
It's better when he's running off Moses.
Absolutely. So I think that's the other thing as well, is that I think as soon as Moses comes back to this side, everything we've got, kind of all the decisions we've made against all these players then has to come back into play again, right?
Look, his dual position, right? Let's say you say, well, I can't get them all, there's a lot to get this week. I'll hold off. If he goes really, really well this game and Parramatta win and there's a bit more clarity around their team selection, I don't mind you bringing him in next week. I know some people say, oh yeah, but now his price is getting away, but there's probably still enough value there as a dual position player. In saying that, you probably don't have to get him this week. You probably can just say, you know what, he looked really good last week, but I can even have one more, or just grab him if you've already got the likes of Jenkins. I don't think anyone will have Dylan Egan though, who's playing for the Dragons off the bench.
No.
And one look may be enough with him because he's been highly touted for years now.
Right, and I think a lot of people have already, even the moment lockout happened, they already jumped in straight away. So I think he was one of, if not the second most traded player in since lockout.
I've been waiting for him to play first grade since 2023. So there's no way I'm going to wait any longer than that one game. I saw what I needed to see. It proved what I already kind of knew.
Great.
I just want to get him in because that way it's just set, forget. I'm even probably going to start him this week. Or at least if I have the ability to loop, which I'm not sure if I do. I think I might have 21.
Yeah,
because I don't have any Warriors.
Look, it's such a horrible thing to have. But I'm in the same boat, 21 green dots, and I haven't seen that in a long time. But a bigger surprise was we thought Stewart was not going to be there.
So Hamish Stewart has been named, but we'll have to watch that closely. Right. Stay tuned to NRL.com. We'll see if he's going through the relevant fitness tests, etc. It doesn't really bother me too much. I'm just going to pick Egan and just see what happens. If you're a Toby Couchman owner, you're happy. I mean, Emre Gula's suspended. It's not good news for Dragons fans, but it helps Couchman's minutes. They were a bit down.
They were down last week. It really was. So look, probably a little bit disheartened last week. He's still one of the most brought-in players as well. He's also on that list for the most brought-in players for this week because of the Gula news. He's still affordable. So look, I feel like if you're going to grab him, probably now's your time. Yeah, it's not. If you really set on him, grab him. There's probably other guys for me that are ranked higher than him this week as more urgent pickups. But
I don't hate it if you say, oh, but I just really like him. Because at the end of the day, fantasy is about fun.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to have the guys you like watching in your team, and he's not going to let you down. He's not going to let your team down one iota. He's going to be a great addition to your fantasy team. So if he's the guy you like, just grab him.
He's also edge, and I think this year, I thought we might have been, like last year, I feel like we had a lot of edges.
Oh, there's no edges.
Year. Now there's none. So he's got the dual, so that's pretty important because we got mids for days.
It's like playing cricket on a pitch that's like a road. There's just no edges.
Yeah. No, well, the problem is going to be edges, and that's, I think, another thing about Katuga as well is that he
plays edge.
That edge spot and the centre spot too. So I think edge spot's probably starting to get a little bit more difficult since we made way for a couple of players a couple of weeks ago. So look, can't talk anyone out of him.
Rounding back to Eels before we move on. Riley Smith named at hooker this week. That'll be one to watch. And Jermaine Hopgood at lock. If you own him, he's continuing to do well. Let's talk Titans v the Dolphins now, and another all-Queensland clash. Gold Coast, I mean, you've got to like what you see.
They keep getting it done, don't they?
You've got to like it. And I'm a Jaden Campbell fan. He is my trade-in of the week. I'm telling you now, if we had the high sense trade, maybe that should be a segment, guys. I'm just saying. It'd be Jaden Campbell for mine.
Well, you wanted him last week too, but you couldn't quite reach him.
Well, I needed
one
Haas.
spot. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, and in the end, Haas and Campbell almost got the same score. So I guess, you know, shout out Scott Baldwin, anti-potted Haas.
Yep, and it kind of worked out for him.
Lenty as well. Scott Lenty, I believe, might have anti-potted Haas. Worked out because not only did Haas not get as massive a score as we expected, but they had to captain May, and May
ended up scoring.
So they got more points. But other than that, I still think owning Haas is a good thing, but we'll talk about the Broncos next. Let's stick to the Titans. Campbell's good. Brimson got a good score.
We got the tries,
which
got him there.
A lot of attacking stats required.
You're happy if you got him, and if that was, I think, again, shout out to Baldwin. He was on last drinks on Brimson, and he ended up sticking with him. So now he's got
away with it.
Price bump. So he's going to probably be good.
Well,
for
he only got his break even.
Well, I think what you'll find though is because he's now got a bigger number in there.
Yes, the rolling average will be better.
Right, right,
you're right.
So he's got that to run off, and also Randall starting 9 usually scores pretty well, but also that was.
Would you sell Brimson this week? Like some people are like, I'm not satisfied with that score because of the way he got it.
He's not going to. I don't think he's going to do that every week for sure. But also, as you said, he didn't lose a lot of cash, so he kind of hit there. He'll probably earn you a little bit of cash, but it's going to be a very, very slow burn. And I haven't owned him myself, but just watching football with players that coaches rather that have owned him, watching him's a pretty rough game sometimes. So
yeah, I'm going to hold him. I'm going to see what happens.
Yep. More fires.
Well, Kinney's out long term. When does Des make the move for AJ back? Because AJ at fullback's a whole different ball game. He has more opportunity for attacking stats. He's barely going to change much in kick meters because he doesn't do long kicks anyway.
Yep.
And all those missed tackles will disappear.
Right, because he'll be at the back. So I think if we can get
him
him there,
maybe a try save. So there's a lot to like. Both for more really good again, right? Tino back to normal, but I still like him this year. I still think he's got a lot of potential. And then David Fafita, we are keeping a close eye on him now. He could be a buy any week.
Oh, he could do. So I mean, generally the rule of thumb of not getting a bench starter. His minutes are improving from his injury, so he's getting more legs and a lot more effort areas. Yeah. He's improving on those as well, so it's not bad. Do you think he'll start, or do you think he'll just keep being that guy?
There's got to be a point where his price is coming this way, and his minutes are going that way, and it's like this the maths x-axis or whatever they call it. I mean, you probably know more about financials than me, but there is that nice midpoint. It's going to hit, and that's when we all got to jump on. It might not be this week, but it's soon. And some people, like Luke, who we might see later today, we might not, could be our special guest. We just don't know, or a mystery guest.
Definitely keeping
Luke likes to go a week early, doesn't he? He doesn't want to miss out.
So, look, I think he's very, very close to there. And as we said, edges are a problem at the moment. So we lost Hosking.
He'll be a massive.
And if he can keep doing what he's doing and
lock it down.
Finns defensively haven't been on top of their game as well. So
Let's talk about the Finns. Herbie, Isaac Gartoa's been good. Unfortunately, Tom Gilbert hit the wall pretty fast after a good round one.
It is unfortunate. I've held him before, so I didn't want to go there again just because the way he was playing before didn't quite.
We've seen it from him, unfortunately.
And that was the thing.
And on field, I'm a massive Tom Gilbert fan, but fantasy-wise, it doesn't seem to translate.
But it's also the late switches that were occurring.
So he did play edge again.
Yep.
Even though he got named to play lock, which we saw change midway through the West Tigers, or not even midway, it was early in the West Tigers game. Max Plath at lock makes him an interesting pickup potential at some point, dual position obviously. And then Lemuelu coming back. Like he's been fantasy relevant in the past. So
that's right.
Do we watch him this week with an eye to pick him up, down the track, or even as soon as next week if he goes bananas? It's the type of matchup where anything could happen, right? The Titans could win by 40. It could be a 1 point golden point game, or the Dolphins could win by 20 or 30.
Absolutely, and I think the Dolphins are really big. They want their win, right? Like they've got a lot to play for there. Lemuelu's interesting, though. I think last year we were pretty blessed in a way where he had the centre spot as well. So that was the other part of him. But
in 2023 even.
With Plath though, he's got the hooker spot, and apart from Mamazoulis, apart from Watson, it's pretty. The general guys
could help you, right?
Help.
Could help you at some point down the road where you're like, oh, that's good. I've got Plath. I'll just move into hooker. Otherwise, I would have had to find one for this round.
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk Broncos and West Tigers. And, well, Brisbane, they're back after that shock loss the week before.
Yep.
They do play the West Tigers.
Out of all the games, though, that was I think that game itself was probably the biggest impacting in terms of the wet weather. That was crazy weather that they had there.
I should say shock loss 2 weeks ago, wasn't it, to the Raiders? They've had 2 wins in a row now. Gemahat. Shibasaki. I have to bring him up. We were watching some old videos earlier, or was it late last week?
Yep.
And we were talking about Gemahat. And that was in 2020.
Look, shout out to those who picked him up, because he just keeps going and going. And little engine that could, he just keeps going. And I picked up Arthur's hoping he was going to do what Shibasaki was doing. Yeah,
well, he's done it every other game, so he might bounce back in this one. But he was a bit quiet in that. As you said, it was strange conditions, and they played. Both teams were still happy to throw the ball around, which was really odd. It didn't. Normally in the wet, when that happens, it results in a lot of errors, and then they kind of figure it out. It didn't happen in this game. They managed to hold the ball, but it didn't necessarily lead to any amazing play. It just it just went side to side.
Except for some of Shibasaki's runs.
Until Shibasaki got
pretty special. Yeah. So
Corey Pakes, I picked him up last week as a
try.
Yeah, because obviously I needed Payne Haas, and that was the amount I sort of had left over that I was willing to spend. And I thought, well, he's dual position, he'll fill some holes on the bench. Very lucky with the try, but I'll take it.
Absolutely, and their matchups, not just this one, but the next few. They're very interesting. So if you don't have any Broncos,
Reece Walsh, you might be starting to think about.
Well, he's the one we were discussing him during that game too. So he's one similar to Deefy. There's going to be a point where that point comes.
Safita, I'm happy to jump early. Walsh, I'd rather jump.
You want to
late.
see? Okay. You just want to see.
Yeah.
How many do you want to see?
I need to see him get a really, really good score, or 2 reasonably good scores.
Yep, that's fair enough.
He's never scored 80. He's got negative scores playing 80 minutes.
And it's the rolling average too. So that -2 is still there for him as well.
But the worry of that isn't just the fact that it's in the rolling average. It's the fact that it can happen.
Happened. Yeah. Yep.
It's not due to an injury. It's not due to being sent off. It means it could happen again. And he's not getting, like I said, he's never scored over 80.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's going to get scores to counter. There's guys like Ponga and Teddy. Like, there's so much more security in those guys. We're still up and down.
But look, the price is starting to get due. Like it's starting to get.
I think so. If I see it, I'll do it. If I see it, I'll do it.
There's your hedge, and I think against your guys, you're not going to want to. You don't want to see an 80 from him.
No, I
this
don't.
Game,
if he gets a good game, if he gets a good score in this game, then I might pick him up next week.
Yep.
Brendan Piakura is starting this week, but it's not for Gosiewski. It's for Ricky.
No,
so that means
we're worried about that.
If you held on to him like I did, well, you're going to probably get a few more price rises yet.
Mm-hmm.
And West Tigers, well, Stafford Toa ended up getting upgraded to 5th. People are happy with that. A lot of changes for them this week with some injuries and suspensions. So Latu Fainu's going to play halfback. So that's a big blow, losing Luai. They've still got Coruscant. Terrell May's just been outstanding.
Oh, just if we've got the little engine that could, we've also got the Energizer Buzzy. But
Yeah,
this guy just keeps going. So
and he plays the guy that he looks most like in play, right? Payne Haas.
well, that's the battle, right?
It's
but look,
the master and the apprentice.
It's going to be very good. So. I think it's going to be a good one. Seyfarth as well. Got a lovely score for us.
60.
With it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just
but, I mean, he did
amazing.
It. And then he was lucky. He was lucky. He did have that little bit at the end, and it ended up.
He got a fine.
Yeah, look, he was lucky he got there, so he can still play. So you're happy with that?
Your man Jack Bird, though, he got the opportunity in the centres, but couldn't. I mean, it was a wet game. It didn't suit outside.
It was, but.
It was a bit disappointing. He didn't even get like a 35.
No. I think we got to a stage where I feel like if you end up with 320s in a row, it's time to start moving on. So I think he's my out because the difference is I think he's going to start actually losing cash now.
Yeah.
Because I've got both him and Iongi.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to make at least one trade and try and get maybe
you got to get
an Egan in,
you gave him plenty of opportunity, plenty of chances.
Yep.
There's been injuries, but it hasn't worked out even when he's been slotted in to start like last week. Because that's what you were hoping for, right? Oh, okay, I started with him, thought he'd get more time off the bench. But that's okay because they might not win games, they might make changes. He might get to start somewhere at some point.
He might do.
But injuries had happened, he still scored a 20. And it's not good enough.
His price is so low that if he eventually does get the start and we get some decent prices out of him...
Yeah, I'd need to see it like Reece Walsh.
Exactly,
I'd need to see
Exactly.
it.
So I think, look, it was one that didn't work, so he's my move on this week. So
get your questions in. We're going to answer them very, very soon. Just a couple of games to get to. First, Manly v the Storm. Wow. Battle of Brookvale. I can't wait. No Tom Trbojevic, though. That's a bit disappointing. Lehigh gets his opportunity at fullback.
Yeah, look, I think he'll do well, and I think they'll get. I reckon they'll still be up for this. It'll be.
I'm tipping him to win.
Yeah,
I'm tipping him to win.
Yep, I think it's going to be great. De Vega owners probably not too.
Hopefully there's none left. Hopefully they've been watching this show and they've been listening and they did like you and got rid of him after 1 week or 2 at the worst. But be like this man. Go on straight away. Burbo, on the other hand, if you started with him, still a bit worried about Olakwadu for his owners. Bullamore's just coming on and killing it.
He's doing
made
a great
some
job.
Serious cash. Takiao is an interesting watch. He can get more minutes. There's no Alloway this week either.
Well, I feel like I've been watching him every week because, I mean, years and years gone by, he was one of the ones to own, right? So you know he's got the pedigree from back in the day, but we're not really seeing it yet, but hopefully we'll see it soon.
It's one of those funny ones. You could take a big chance and it could come off, or you could just be like, oh, I've got to sell him in 3 weeks because he's made no money.
And Garrick, still doing Garrick things, but maybe not quite as much as the week before, but look.
Nah, I mean, he got moved to the wing.
It's always going to impact things.
Sometimes the wing is better, sometimes centre's better. It's a bit hard to know week to week.
Look, he kicks and they score. They've been scoring a lot, so I
wouldn't expect him to get a massive score against the Storm.
Probably curb your
enthusiasm.
Curb the enthusiasm. I think maybe on this one, because I think Storm are probably going to turn up.
Well, you need the Storm to turn up because you own Cam Munster and Jack Howarth.
Yeah,
they need to show up. That was not the game for those sort of players. But hopefully the weather is better.
I think so.
Normally it's great on the northern beaches, so hopefully Brookvale puts on a show. They score well. Ryan Pappenhausen's there. Harry Grant bounced back.
Yep. So look, if you've been holding the faith, so maybe you're happy with that. Hooker's a bit of a position that's been a bit tricky apart from Mamazoulis, he's been scoring okay, but he's earning money, so it's kind of works for both. But if you're holding Grant, I think, is he one also to put on that list? He's on the watch list because he's been dropping.
Been dropping. So, would you be willing to outlay it? He's still high, is it too expensive to get a falling gun even at that price if he's going to play Origin? That's a tough one. Shout out to Andrew because Trent Liero, what a score.
Yeah, big time.
Hat tip to him. We've sort of been making a bit of fun of Andrew's Liero selection, but egg is firmly on Luke and I's face after that, and Jerome Hughes in the 22.
Yep. So that's another one to keep an eye out for the day before and hour before team lists. Yep. That's one thing. Another thing too, both Munster and Wishart, we were talking about before, generally one half will score well, one won't, but they both scored the same as well.
Yeah,
so
Munster got upgraded too, so they didn't quite get the identical score.
Right,
only a very late upgrade, 39, but 37 for Wishart, as you said.
Yeah.
They didn't. It wasn't the right.
It wasn't the right game. It wasn't great.
Game.
So look,
they lost. Melbourne don't lose 2 in a row often.
No.
I'm going to tip Manly, but maybe I should change it because Melbourne don't lose 2 in a row almost ever.
But we'll be happy to see a lot of sun this week. So hopefully that rain can stay away. And
as it said in the song,
test out the drainage and make sure that the fields are all ready to go.
Let's talk Bulldogs v the Knights. Finishing off round 5 multicultural round, and it's kind of fitting in a way that the Bulldogs would round it out because obviously rich multicultural heritage with the club and on top of the ladder as well. So everything is coming up Canterbury Bankstown at the moment.
Yeah, I think first time they've got 4 in a row since 2013.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought it was even earlier.
No, 2013 apparently. So look,
Jacob Preston.
Yeah, he finally got you there. So look, you've held him, and there was even questions about potentially moving him on. Not on this show, but there was people were questioning about do we move on Preston and look, hold the faith.
That's why you don't. And he just got moved to the left, where that's when he really had his breakout season. He got club player of the year at the Bulldogs. He was fantasy darling of the year.
Yes, very much so.
So he's moved to the left. So he won't come up against Bradman Best, my other fantasy guy, but he's back, and Callum Ponga, of course, as well. Yep,
absolutely. And another one too, one that we're keeping an eye out on the extendeds for the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Do you think Jacob Kiddos might play?
Look, Bulldogs supporters would want him to play. I think, and from memory, him against the Knights, unbelievable. I think.
He's got a bit of a rivalry.
Absolutely
does.
does.
Let him go.
That's right. So he turns it on.
He doesn't forget that. I am curious if Kiddos does come back and he's just eased into his couple of quieter fantasy scores. It could be a great pickup.
Absolutely.
Imagine having someone like him. He's probably not going to play Origin. He was touted that maybe, but obviously the late start to the year probably now means maybe 2026 is his best chance to break into the Origin arena, which means he could be a really good pick-up dual position to have over the Origin period. Thomas Cant, your man for the Knights.
Look, he's been doing a job.
That was a great score, but do you chase one score?
KPP's back next week, so what does that mean? So the way that
Frizzell
the team's been prepped could be. That's the other thing. So Adam Elliott's been playing off the bench, but again, risk reward. So he's pretty expensive though to bring in too. So
did too well last year.
Well, right. So if you're going to risk it, you are really risking it. So that's the thing. Like if he was in the 300s, maybe very early 4s,
this is what happened to Dylan Lucas the year before. Remember?
It's true.
Because he played a few games in 2023, bumped up that price, and we were worried about it. He still outdid it.
That's right.
Fletcher Sharp's outdoing his price. He's playing outstanding. Greg Marju, I expect a bounce-back game here, because you know the way that the Bulldogs play. Marju's going to need to do a lot of tough carries.
Yeah, absolutely. His kick returns are... love watching those kick returns. So
and James Schiller's played well, so... Yeah. And obviously Callum Ponga a fullback. It's not like your game plan will be, we'll just never kick to Greg Marju.
Yeah.
With Schiller there this year... It's really opened it up to be like, well, we can't avoid. Yeah. Where do we go? And that's why the Knights, exception of the Titans game, where they were a bit down on their regular, They've played well, right? They've been winning until that game.
Yeah. So I think, look, hopefully this is going to be a bounce back for them as well. So it'll be a really good matchup, I think. And sometimes Knights have been known to be a bit of a bogey team as well sometimes for the Bulldogs. So, look, I won't be at the game, but hopefully for my boys, hopefully that's where it'll end up. But we'll see how we go.
Watching on KO. Let's get to your questions now, shall we? We've got some great questions. Hopefully our mystery guest will arrive now. Leaky, I don't know if you know if he's going to arrive or she. We don't even know who it is. But maybe there's an opportunity to check. And what do we think, or who do we think has more money to make? Hubner or Egan? I don't know that question.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Hubner or Egan. There you go.
I need to get rid of Fekete. Well, Feketi's back. But I still think Hubner's a great buy.
I feel like you've got to have him. And
you got to have him.
Yeah, and we're not even close.
Yeah, watch Dylan one more week. Just get Hubner this week. We've seen enough.
Yeah.
And then Dylan Egan, you can pick up next week if he has another good game.
Yeah. Well, there's the Stewart thing that we're looking out for as well.
Yeah.
So
you'll know more.
Worst case if you miss him 1 week. But Hubner, I feel like if you don't have Hubner now, he's just
310k. That's such a bargain price. Yeah, I wouldn't wait on Hubner.
No, he's doing a great job. There we go.
Thoughts on Thomas Count as a pickup? Well, we did mention him.
Yeah, I think
in the preview of the Knights game,
it could go one way or another. It's risky if you've got the money.
Risky.
He's an edge though, which is probably why. Like obviously his average looks amazing because he's just had that one amazing game, and his break even would also look great as well. So
yeah,
I feel like because of the money, I think it's probably just not in the don't go realm.
Yeah,
I think I don't know. It's because KPP could be back and he could be the one to move, because I feel like unless Adam O'Brien really likes Thomas Cant, I feel like he's got a lot of love for KPP for starters.
So it would have to be KPP and Cant as the edges and Frizzell back to lock.
Yeah, so
that's how
lock
I'm seeing
and
it.
Elliott,
right?
Elliott back further, so him back to bench.
And Elliott
that's
back
how he
to
was
bench.
playing rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah,
so that's
what I'm thinking.
The ideal
so
outcome.
Lucas is at what, minimum 6 weeks?
Yeah. Or it's to be confirmed at the moment. So even at this stage, like he's still got time. So you want to see some decent time on him. So it's tricky because he had such a big score. He's going to probably.
Good question, Reagan. It's a good question.
It's a tricky one because he's probably going to. If he has another good score, his cash rise is going to be huge.
And we don't. And everyone that got Haas now is happy they got him, and everyone that anti-potted him aren't looking to grab him this week. They're just like now we're waiting for the cycle to turn back. So people have a lot more opportunity to really play around with their trades this week. There's no urgent way.
No.
So people are just thinking, ooh, who do I like? Do I like Toby Couchman? Do I like Jaden Campbell?
Yeah. Well, Toby Couchman.
Like David Fafita.
Toby Couchman, for example. If you compare the two, you got Thomas Cant, who did score well, but his security versus Toby Couchman.
And middles are a lot more consistent in scoring.
Yeah.
Here's Tim Blake, who nailed the Jenkins pick last week. Do you guys have an opinion on if Hiroti is a pickup? I'm not a real Hiroti fan.
No.
As far as fantasy concerned, obviously as a player, I like him. But yeah, fantasy-wise, I've never seen him. Like when I'm looking at fantasy pickups, I'm looking at people that either have explosive upside.
Yep.
Or just a real high work rate, like a Dylan Egan.
Yeah.
Right? They're the two things I'm looking for if I'm picking up a player who's barely played or maybe just had one game.
Yeah.
So for me, Hiroti this week would just be a watch. And if he got 2 really good scores, kind of like what Shibasaki has done now, like I would never pick up Shibasaki just on the whim. I know some people did and it paid off. But it's not how I play fantasy.
No. And that's a good point. It's just how you play. Look, Timmy loves a smoky. He loves a smoky
because he wants the cash. He's a cash man, and he sees something cheap.
So look,
he's going for it.
I feel like there's no way I'm going to talk you out of this, Timmy. But at the same time, look at
maybe don't do it.
Look up the match.
You already got Jenkins.
Look at the matchups.
Probably don't need Hiroti as well.
Well, yeah, but also just at least have one look.
And Cooper asking, is Dylan Egan any good? Well, I've loved what I've seen with him over the years in the juniors. And I've been waiting for this day for a long time. So I'm not going to wait any longer, Cooper. I'm just going to grab him. That means I've got to miss on Kautoga. It means I've got to miss on Jenkins. It could cost me a lot of salary cap if they continue to go well. Even Purdue's still a buy. I was thinking that he could be brought in. Even Jack Cole could be a buy with that huge score now in his rolling average. He's going to make a lot of money. But Dylan Egan, for mine, he just surpasses everyone based upon the pedigree, and hopefully Flano gives him enough minutes.
Well, that's the one question, because they got a fairly big pack. But yeah, everyone's bringing him in. So the more people that bring him in, the less risky it is that you've brought him into, because you're with the pack. So if he goes poor, everyone goes poor. So
I talked about guys like Campbell and Walsh and Brimo, but Boosting wants to know is Latrella pick up. Centre in his first round back, I definitely wouldn't do that. I think that the risk outweighs the reward. Break even of 61.
He's definitely done that before.
He could hit, but probably at fullback, not at centre.
Yeah, okay.
Will he go back to kicking goals?
Well, that's the question as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, I hope not.
Yeah, we all hope not.
Yeah,
okay. Do I trade Harry Grant for Latrell? Asks Peter Bott. No, you don't. Harry Grant finally got you a good score. You're going to ride that wave upwards.
Well, that's another risk it for the biscuit trade, that one.
No, you can't. You talked about sideways a couple of weeks ago, and I got.
Do you reckon that one's a sideways?
Well, at best. At best, you can't do it. We don't have it. We've got more trades over the years, but we still don't have enough trades for that. Terry Evans. Terry Evans. Well, Daly-Cher Evans has been in the news. I mean, Terry Evans, that's great. Brimson a hold. I'm holding. What are you doing?
You hold after that.
Yeah.
He's going to at least get a little bit of cash.
Yeah.
I think, just with that decent run. You can't expect him to get the tries every week, but at the same time, he did get them last week.
They're playing the Dolphins.
They're
playing the Dolphins. You've held him through the 13.
Yeah.
You've got to see if he can. Again, these guys have got, like Brimson, he's got an average, 37, 38, 39? Yeah. If he's getting a 13, that means next week he's going to get a 60.
Yeah.
Right? To get that average right. So why would you sell him after the 13? Well, you're going to miss out on his good scores.
Maybe it's because of his positioning as well, though.
His missed tackles. His missed tackles are not helping us. In the halves as opposed to fullback. I'll give you that.
Well, perhaps, like, for example, maybe they did pick up like a Jenkins or something, so maybe they're a bit flush with some of the wing fullbacks, so maybe that's what they want to move on for him. But
yeah, I mean, look, if you've got a great trade like a Brimson to Campbell, you've got money in the bank, go for it. But personally, I'm just going to hold him and hope this is his round. And if it's not, and you ask me again next week, I could have a very different answer, because he doesn't go well against the Dolphins. I don't know who he's going well against.
Yeah,
right.
For exactly that point, this could be the last. If he doesn't go well this time, then it's
funny to say with a guy who nearly scored 50 that he's on the plank, though. I feel like that's a bit mean.
Yeah, but I think it's how he scored the 50.
Thoughts on Papali'i? I reckon he could start long term. Look, he could.
Yeah, well, he definitely could, because
Sorensen's out with the HIA, so Sorensen's back next week. But Penrith haven't been winning.
No.
So if Penrith turn around and put a number on the Cowboys with this roster, then Ivan might just say that's the roster now, and Sorensen, you're on the bench.
The problem comes down to that security question again. Is he going to get named? And the question is, we don't know until next week. So is that, I know his price is coming down, but it's a lot of cash to throw at
51 last week, starting at prop, and then having to play a bit of edge after Garner came off. I think Garner took over from Sorensen originally.
600k though. Like, who else have we got for 600k though?
It's not bad. It's not a bad shout. I mean, but you're just taking that gamble that the four-time premiers are going to return to what we know they can do. Or are they now in the midst of a bit of a bring back to the field because they've lost just so many members of that original squad? Like, that's the thing. If you're a Penrith believer, I think you can be an IPAP believer. The caveat is Cleary plays right and IPAP's going to play left, unless Martin mysteriously moves.
Another thing to matter in there is the fact his cash isn't, because he scored well, he's going to kind of plateau with his price. So you could wait the week, this week, and then see what it's named. You might miss a gangbuster score this week for him, So it depends. If you're cashed up, maybe you're willing to throw in the risk there for the 600k. But for me, if I had 600k to spend, I'd be spending it elsewhere.
All right, next question. The keg, would you start Toya at centre knowing Latrell's running at him this week?
I love that name.
Do we know that though?
I don't know. But
So Jack Whiten, who always plays left, is moved to the right because Latrell's back? Or does Latrell play right?
Do you reckon, does he...
I think Latrell plays left, but I don't know. I mean, it's a guess.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one, especially Trell versus Roosters as well as a comeback. So that's usually a pretty fiery outing for both sides. So look, I think Latrell's going to do well. I think he is, because we wanted to see him at centre for so long, just to see how it goes, and it's been so long since he's been there. Maybe this is a bit of a resume for Origin, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good question, the keg. It's a very good question. I'm frantically looking at my team. Did I still have Toya in the starting team, or did I take him out?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Because I've got Toya and Toa. So I've got
Okay.
Stafford. They're playing Brisbane, which is a tough matchup,
Yep.
but it's not Latrell tough.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a really good question. I think that if you've got options, you might hedge your bets.
Yep. But I feel like probably the only other major centre that a lot of people have got is Purdue, who, like...
Yeah, it's still
or Toa,
Toya
so
over-
you're kind of around that spot anyway.
Still
So
wanna-
I feel like if you're in that spot, chances are a lot of people are in that spot too. So unless you've spent big on a big centre to swap them in, then it's not a question. So
Ian Tweedy wants to know if Gilbert suspended is White a better long-term option. Definitely. No, Faye White's been awesome. So
like if you're comparing those two, yeah.
do it. Ben Moore, Gilbert and Sandon Smith for Egan and Jenkins.
That's you're going to have some cash in the bank after that one.
Is Sandon Smith about to dry up making cash? It's a tough run. So this game is the make it or break it game for Smith, because the 20 is going to sit in his rolling average for a while. So he needs some other good scores to kind of get to sort of balance out the 20. His break even's 23. It's still low because he's had other good scores.
Right. It's not too crazy because I think it was a.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't hit his break even, if he gets 2 20s in a row, and then we'll know he's a sell because he's dried up. Yeah. But we're hoping for like a mid-40s, right?
New halves pairing too. I don't think we brought that up when we went through the team listings. No, funnily enough.
Townsend.
So Townsend. So what does that look like? We don't know.
Townsend.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So look, I think I've got Sandon. I'm just going to stick with him because the break even's 23. It's not undoable. I feel like if especially because of the price of the blokes you're bringing in, if that's who you're using to bring it in, so be it. But I feel like there's probably other guys that could go.
I think our mystery guest's here. Come on down. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
It's been pulled out.
This is awesome. Waited for you.
Give me some questions.
Here we go.
Give me
Joshua
some questions.
Palmer. Do I captain Haas or May? They play each other.
Smoky.
Ooh. Oh, I'm going Haas just for.
I'm
Paulie.
going Haas. I'm going Haas. But hey, I'll be happy either way. If May has a huge game and West Tigers win, it won't matter. Oh, you can't wipe the smile off your face.
Surely May gets a rest. I mean, last week was a bit of an outlier with all the injuries, right? He played 80.
I was thinking Master v Apprentice, but is it more the Emperor and Darth Vader?
Or it could be it could be the starting front rowers for New South Wales too.
Smoky.
I'll tell you.
I don't think it's a smoky. I think it's pretty much. I think their first 2 props
I'm
pits.
already sweating looking at my round 12 availabilities, and now you're saying May's not.
That's why I brought it up.
Southern Nuku, do you think Cleary is a sell with his high break even? Not now.
If you've held him
Yeah,
now.
last week, sure, but if you held him through the chaos,
So
you want
was
to get the 80. He's predicted to get 80.
Southern. You would be a very, very brave individual to sell him the week he plays the Cowboys.
Haas predicted.
Off 3 losses in a row.
Yeah. Well, we were saying if you held him, the only reason why you held him was for this game. So if you want to move on him before this game, look, that's
Last week made sense because there were a lot of issues with your team. If you somehow got through that chaos, like the official NRL Fantasy podcast team, then you're absolutely loving bringing him back.
Hold
into
Southern,
your halves.
hold Southern, just hold,
The
mate.
predictor says 80.
Cleary will
So that's
pay.
pretty
Cleary will
promising.
pay you back Southern, I guarantee.
Past Cleary,
a Paulie
80,
G
May
guarantee.
72.
But if you don't have him,
Look, injury permitted.
Yeah.
You know, obviously stuff like that. That's the only danger. Daniel Dimitrievski is Hopgood a trader. I wouldn't be trading him out.
especially him, he's the worker.
He got 60 odd.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
if you're not happy with 60,
Do you know who Hopgood is? Hopgood's basically Captain America in Endgame, where he's just standing there with his shield and he's in front of all these middles and back rows. Just he's got no help at all, poor bloke, and he's just
Captain America,
hanging
I
on
love
for
that.
dear life.
He is
He's
Captain
strapping the shield on again. He's got blood coming off him. Yeah, no, he's a great. Keep him going.
Tom wants to know what you're doing with Turbo. Yeah,
Oh,
sell
trade.
him.
Yeah,
He's
trade.
not playing.
I'm right now. If you ask me, Griff, just go like for like. I'm probably just go Turbo to Walsh.
Go early. We did talk about Walsh.
Oh, there you go.
Preview of
I
the
haven't seen the start of the
Broncos
show, so
game. Yeah, and we said there'll be a point, but I want to see more with Walsh. I don't want to do it yet.
I think again not to
Fafita,
not
about
not to
Fafita.
go full Dexter Morgan, but I think tonight's the night. If he's going to go off, it's going to be this. It's going to be this night. I think.
Hopefully our defence. Our defence has been.
Yeah, they have been, but I think they're ripe.
Tarek Law wants to know Stafford, Toa, Kartoga or Hetherington. I assume he means which player to put in the
Yeah.
17.
Yeah, because Hetherington's not a trade-in. So
I think
that's not a question.
I think Kartoga.
Yeah.
I think his
More-
score will be solid.
Put it this way. I was at the game on Sunday. I think Kautoga, as quiet as he was, you look up and he's still got a good score, right?
Yeah, and Riley
Good,
Smith
really good
starting.
Well, again, he was very vocal.
Yeah, so they'll get more.
So I'm actually quite impressed with that because he was in a well-beaten team.
Yeah.
He was still having a go. And I think that kind of matters for something.
Playing this
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
That's probably back to what the Hopgood question, but I think I'd still keep Hopgood. I think they're probably going to play. I would not be surprised at all if Walker maybe plays a bit in the Hawkins role too.
Ooh.
Well, Toa's got the tricky matchup there, and Hetherington's not really been
Yeah, he'll
firing.
be running at Shibasaki. Wow. It's a battle of fancy young gun or cheap guns.
Well, I know Cookie will be very excited.
Terry Evans just wants to know if Docker Clay is a pickup. Not for me.
Not for me, but we were talking about it.
He's impressive.
We were talking about it earlier, though. If you've got him, you're happy. But not only that, if Watson gets that Origin spot, Docker Clay becomes
Stash him away.
Absolutely, because he's going to play about 5-6 games.
Robbo is giving him a bit more trust, so it is a bit of an interesting one because if Radley's not playing this week, right?
Yeah, but he's out for a couple.
So
see what
I mean,
happens.
there could be a scenario where he brings both of them on.
Yeah.
So
What do you think when he's playing off the
But to-
bench, though?
but to-
You go back to his 20s and 30s.
but to your point, to purchase him right now is probably a little bit risky.
Got to break even at -9, but he might, in the next 6 weeks, he could go up, but then back
How
down.
many minutes you got for him?
You may as well just.
How many minutes you got for him?
35.
That's still good.
I feel like
It's hard. That's Watson 65. So obviously, if Watson gets 80, then Docker Clay might only.
It's
get 20.
a risky one. but-
Get him for the long-term benefit, not for the points he's going to get over the next few weeks. Because when Watson's there, Docker Clay's not.
If he gets the minutes, he's going to score heaps because he's scoring at a pretty high rate. So.
It's going to be a bloke that just sits probably in your 18 to 21.
I just think you can do more with the 18 to 21 slot.
Hashtag I want more.
Well,
I need more.
Dylan Egan. I mean, Tom Jenkins. There's a lot. Kartoga. There's a lot out there. Gilbert and Howard.
Oh.
For Campbell and Jenkins, ask Bose.
Well,
that would be one of my trades.
Paulie is the president of the. He's flicked Bryce Cartwright, and he's now in the Jaden Campbell Club, isn't he? That's your man this year.
Yeah, a lot of people follow.
So
JC.
take it away.
I follow a different JC, Jaden Campbell.
Campbell Castle,
Yeah.
Paulie over here.
Daniel Dimitrievski, Sharp, a solid pod pickup.
I love Sharp. I love it.
You like him a lot.
And I know, friend of the show, Cookie is. I've laid the seed in his head. He's starting to think about him as well. I think, mate, he's barely done. Again, he hasn't really scored any tries yet.
Sharp.
He hasn't had that big game yet, and he is scoring. He's averaging 61.
It's pretty nuts.
Man,
You're a Knights fan. What
Yeah.
do you think, Foggy?
Oh, well, we brought him up. We were sitting here round one. We brought him up. We went, look, he might fire, and he really has. So,
Yeah,
look,
I got him in some draft leagues. Dual positions.
The dual position's very handy. So I think you're getting him for that as well. Having a wing fullback that plays
good,
half,
man.
it stops the the basement games.
It's just tough with.
I was going to go Turbo straight to him, but he lost 80k. So no, everybody hurts.
He tried to stay out there for you.
Oh, he sure did. He was very, very unhappy too. Poor bloke. Just needs a bit of luck. Like you always say in fantasy, I just need a bit of luck.
He's had no luck.
Had no luck. You and Paulie G and Turbo, I've had no luck.
I'm not complaining.
Okay.
I'm doing okay. It was only that 1 year. All right, I think that just about does us. That's awesome that you could join us.
Oh, mate, I'm always, as I said, I'll always turn, especially when our special guest from
it's a shame we
up
didn't have
north
one or
comes
two
down.
More questions for you.
No, we'll have plenty more blow-ups next week. I'm sure there'll be some absolute carnage that happens this week and everyone will blow up deluxe. There'll be some guy that comes from the shadows comes from the sky that...
Well, Latrell, we had questions on Latrell. Like, what if he comes out and brains it? He's playing left.
And round six is the DP updates?
Yeah,
so he'll
get it. No, he won't get it.
Oh, sorry, rookie mistake.
No, well, it's not always. It's like, it depends on the exact circumstance.
Okay, I'm just saying. He's going to be very, very looked at closely.
I think 2 he's going to miss out on 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Before we go, what's our standout game this week?
Well, I think the Haas v May clash for mine, but obviously I'll be watching Cleary as a non-Cleary owner now. So that's going to be a stressful 6 p.m. game.
I think both those games will have plenty of points in them.
Yeah.
Which is good for fantasy people. So.
I'll be sweating.
Yeah. I think out of all the ownership, I think in that Tigers-Broncos game, there's a lot of ownership.
Well, the Roosters, Rabbitohs,
well,
not a lot of ownership.
Before we go, not to rat you out, but you did the Tigers game. You did predict that the downfall was going to happen as soon as May didn't score that try.
Yeah, I said
I will verify. He said, I don't like it.
I
don't like it. That was the turning point. And I said, Paulie, don't be silly. Tigers will win. He said, nah, they're done. So
yeah, they're probably done.
There you go.
And they were. But 2-point losses.
On to more
life
positive
could be a
things.
lot worse. There's still 2 out of 4, and hey, who knows? They're playing Madge. I mean, everyone's going to be keen for this game. True. Madge will be keen. The Tigers players will be keen.
Your team's looking good, Paulie. I tell you, it's looking great. I think you're going to have a good week this week.
Yeah. You should see the official fantasy podcast.
Yeah.
We're into the top 5,000.
Go check it out. Everyone search it.
I'll do. All right, Luke Seiflate, thank you. Eric Wells, thanks for coming down. I'm Paulie G. All week long, we're going to have plenty of NRL fantasy videos. Look on the in-app stories. Check out the website. We're everywhere, basically. YouTube. Come here if you're listening on the podcast next Tuesday from 4 p.m. We answer your questions. We have a bit of fun. And we talk fantasy. And it's multicultural around. So I should say I'm not Paulie G, I'm Paul Jodka.
Yep.
That's in keeping with Adam Duahi. You know how he does that? And changes his name just for big occasions like multicultural around, living on games. That's me. So
yeah, great.
And we will catch you next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Bye for now.